Here to talk about it, a gentleman on whom we depended last week via Skype from Paris. With the network France 24, we say hello again to Armen Georgian. Armen, the issue is the first since those horrible attacks. What do you believe the response is going to be, not only in Paris, but around the world?
Well, so far, JD, the reactions I've seen on social media to this front cover have been pretty positive. A lot of people have said that they're quite moved by it. It shows the Prophet Muhammad with two sentences. One is "I am Charlie," and the other is "all is forgiven." A lot of people seeing that as a generous response by the magazine to last week's attacks. Of course, still the fact that the Prophet will be represented in any shape or form is something that not everybody likes, for the same reason that some people were upset when the original cartoons were published.
And mindful of that, have you seen anything in social media from those who take offense with any representation of Muhammad? Has the backlash started to the cover that will appear on newsstands tomorrow?
No, I don't see any signs of a backlash, but I think there is, in a sense, a preemptive approach by the French authorities, because they have deployed a record number of police officers at sensitive sites across the country, not just places that you'd expect, like the Eiffel Tower, but also at synagogues, at mosques, at Jewish schools. I don't think anyone really is expecting the cover to suddenly lead to huge, upheaval, in the sense that at the moment a spirit of national unity has been worked for very hard, and it's still, from what I can sense, very much being preserved today. But clearly there are precautions being taken at, as I say, religious schools, religious sites, as well as sensitive places like airports, train stations, and so forth, as you would expect.
2 minutes remain, Armen. Might we add to that media organizations? And to get personal for a second, there you are working for France 24. Have you seen stepped up representation of law enforcement and the military in front of your place of work?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, we have armed guards now asking people for their badges. We've got it's much more difficult to enter the building now. But I think, of course, in the media we felt these attacks particularly keenly, because Charlie Hebdo was an attack on journalists and journalism. But I think we're not alone in the French population at being worried about what's going to come next, because of course these measures, you always see this after terrorist attacks. You see increased police in a capital city, but those measures don't last forever. And I've heard a lot of analysts here in France speculate that perhaps those attacks were somehow a signal to sleeper cells to activate themselves, although they would obviously not do that immediately because of this reinforced law enforcement presence that we're seeing at the moment. So I think there's a general sense among the despite the national unity, or in parallel to it, I should say, still a sense of foreboding that this is not the end.
Mindful of that, here in the United States, we passed something called the Patriot Act. In the 20 seconds that remain, do you expect France to follow suit with a French Patriot Act, in essence?
No, I don't. And the Prime Minister today was very skeptical about that idea. But just note very briefly that French investigators have many of the powers that US investigators already have, because the French passed a law which was very controversial at the time in late 2013, which expanded the powers for law enforcement. So it's already standard for law enforcement to scour text messages, social media, to look at
We'll have to leave it right there. Armen Georgian of France 24, we